working with the Biff and everything. Tell me about that and the success you guys had.
Well, that was fun. That was a great time. You know, I was working with Carl Edwards, you know, when I started with Roush, I went over there to be Kyle Busch's crew chief. Well, before the season ever started, Kyle Busch decided, I'm not going to drive trucks. I'm going to go drive for Rick Hendricks in the Cup Series. Well, and all of a sudden we didn't have Kyle Busch, right? Well, here comes Carl Edwards. Hey, I've got a card here. I'd love to drive your car. And sure enough, here he comes. Carl, what a great guy, right? Yeah. I mean, just super good to work with. So we started running the truck series there and all. And we had won 3-4 races, you know. I was like, wow, this is cool, right? Anytime you can win, I don't care what it's in. It makes you feel good.
Absolutely.
Go-kart, if it's a truck, it's a whatever. Winning's fun. That's what we all do it for. So we were doing well, and that was going really good. And then Jack asked me to go hang out at Michigan with Greg and just observe their cup program. And so I went along and I just listened in and all that and gave my comments, my 2 cents worth or whatever. And the next thing I know, Jack offered me the job. Wow. And that's how we came about, was through the course. And I don't even know exactly what date I really started with him. It was after July, because he had won the July race at Daytona. And then after that, it just started clicking. And the way that the whole thing worked out, and Roush Racing as a whole, that was a powerhouse when we had 5 cars and had all 5 of them in the chase, you know, winning races with all of them. But it just came together for Greg. Greg seemed to deal with a car that was loose. He really wanted them to turn. So the cars, when we built them, we dealt with yaw moments and all this stuff as far as aero goes. So when they go to turn in the corner, it aided the car really wanted to be loose. Well, he was comfortable with that. And that'll always keep a car turning. Well, between that feel of the aero package and the time when Roush then teamed up with Roush Yates and became Roush Yates, well, we had a great aero package with a great driver with the best motor combination you can have, teaming up with, you know, with Yates and taking Roush's, you know, high RPM, you know, all the stuff that Roush had been working on at the time, and put those together. Man, we came out of the box, and it's like, you know, it was one of those deals where we knew we had good equipment. There was nothing stopping us from doing it. Anything you wanted to do, you did it. You're right. You want to change a fender, cut it off, do it. Wow. But we did it. The aero package suited him. We went out there, started winning races. You unload, and you knew you had a shot to win that race. If we played our cards, our wheels didn't come loose, we did anything stupid, we didn't rack, our tire wouldn't blow apart or something like that, we knew we could win a race. And we did. The one year we won 6 races. We won 12 races, I think, altogether in my time with Greg.
Wow.
Won Homestead 3 years in a row. In fact, I'm standing in the 3rd time we won Homestead, and I'm standing there in victory lane and say, you know what? This really sucks. I'm not working with them no more. They made a change. I wasn't going to be their crew chief anymore.
Wow.
And I'm standing there in victory lane going, now what am I going to do?
Well, and Dominic, I feel like we can wrap up on this before we move on to news and notes. You know, David was talking here about the Hall of Fame resume of Doug Richert. You're not going to find somebody, it's going to be real tough anyway, that has a better track record of the drivers they work with than Doug. I mean, from Dale Earnhardt, Junior Johnson, Darrell Waltrip, Greg Biffle, Carl Edwards, Kyle
Buddy
Busch,
Baker.
David Starr.
Brian Vickers, yes.
The list is unbelievable, Dom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, Doug, you might have said this. I don't know if it was on last show or maybe before we had gone on air. I think you had said you and your wife had counted. You've worked with like 70 some drivers in points.
Yeah,
award
I think it's actually a little bit more than that.
That's amazing.
And speaking, when you were talking about the Hall of Fame stuff, I was fortunate enough to get I got inducted into the West Coast NASCAR Hall of Fame.
That's a big
Went
deal.
out there, and actually Darrell Waltrip announced me out there. So that was a great honor to have him announce me for the Hall of Fame, and all these things you put together, and that was the first time when I really started counting, because I just got an iPad, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be checking the iPad up there, and I started, and we're sitting there going, what year? Oh, okay, Regan Smith. Oh yeah, wait a minute, yeah, Ben Hess, and we kept going and going. All of a sudden, this list is, I still don't know to this day. Obviously, it's changed a lot more because now I got David Starr on there. I wasn't before, like Jimmy Hill, all these ones. But yeah, it's good. I know it's between 70 and 80 at different times, whether I was just changing tires or running the team or when I was just first starting.
Right.
Anybody I was ever involved with, it's up there.
That's cool.
And that's pretty cool though.
Amazing, man. Amazing career. And really, I'm kind of shocked that Doug Richert is not working. I mean, you would just think that the racing teams would be lined up to have you part of their organization just because who you are. And, and I feel like the Hall of Fame is not too far away. The Charlotte, the Charlotte, North Carolina NASCAR Hall of Fame, but what an honor it is to be in the West Coast NASCAR Hall of Fame. And man, Doug, we're just talking about Biffle and Roush, and I heard Dominic and Tyler talking about before. Hell, I think it's movie star or commercial star or something. Didn't you make some commercials or something? You was on TV there for a while.
Oh, well, I did have a little splash with that. I mean, we were in the Subway commercials. I remember when I was at juniors, we made a Budweiser commercial. Wow. And after 3 days of shooting, it was for 30-second commercial. that was like the first one I ever got involved with, right? I was like, wow, that's a lot of work for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But then being involved with the Subway stuff was a lot of fun. I was in 3 different ones, I guess, with Greg, and I was talking earlier, I said when Greg was driving the car, running from the cops, and I was in there with him, when he spun it around and then the cop comes up to the door. But prior to that, we're sitting over on the bank and we watched the guy run into the tree. That guy was suited up in that thing, like a helmet on. He looked like he was going to run the Daytona 500. Hans device and everything just to run into the tree on purpose. But safety first.
Absolutely, safety first, man.
But the funnest one was the first one really too. When we went in, this is during the winter, and then it was the Subway over there by Concord Mills, by the Roush shop.
Yeah.
Well, they closed the store down, and we were in there shooting this commercial. Well, man, it got where we were spraying stuff inside there. And then one time Mike Hillman, he reached up and he hit the light, broke the light, and it was just crazy, everything that was going on.
Hopefully you stayed away from Jared from Subway.
Yeah. I never saw him around any of our stuff. So, but the fun one was, the one that took a lot of effort was the sandwich. When Greg was throwing the sandwich in my face, you would not believe how long I sat there and had to take a sandwich to the face. And get this, it was stunt bread. They said, we want to do the stunt. Well, that was the stunt bread, was the ones that didn't have any stuff in them. That was for Greg to practice, like, and when I came off of 2 and the car whipped around him, that's when he threw the sandwich.
Okay.
Right. So he was getting his timing down on how to throw the sandwich. So as it got going, he practiced and did all that. Well, then they gave him a live bread sandwich, with lettuce and all that stuff on it, right? And they had to get the tomatoes and get in there. And you know how a tomato and lettuce always looks real luscious, you know, because it's got little sweat bubbles on it. Well, it's from the spray guns pushing the water on it, you know. So it looks just right.
No, you're giving away all their secrets, man.
Oh, it's the world of TV. But then when he throws it, they said, man, wouldn't that be so cool to have the lettuce hanging from your mustache? Now that was a whole act in itself. We trying to like, how can we get this piece of lettuce to stick there on my mustache? Finally, it took molasses. and we got the piece of lettuce to sit on there where it would sit on there long enough. And that was right the scene, right when they threw the sandwich in there and it went, bam. Then I was looking like dumb. Like, why'd you throw the sandwich at me, right? And the lettuce is hanging there on my mustache. So I said, and then they said, well, we need it to fall off. Like, so the whole time was molasses, get it hanging on there, and you had to go. Take the lip, and you're trying to like real nonchalant, like enough wind to blow the lettuce off, and that's a wrap.
That's great.
So, Doug, how many takes did it take to make that perfect, to perfect that?
Well, I don't know how many pounds of bread I took that day. It was fun though. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed those times. And in fact, there was a couple years back when I went over and I saw Jack Roush, and I said, Jack, I gotta admit, I said the worst thing I ever did was leave your team.
Really?
Yep. And it was when I left, even though like I didn't know what I was going to be doing, but they didn't say I didn't have a job, right? But I thought I would be the bright guy and go over to Red Bull at the time, you know, because it was supposed to be the greatest thing since peanut butter, you know, when it was starting up. So, and got over there, and you know, it was an engineer-driven organization that I no longer had the luxury of changing the way that fender looked because the engineers had to do it.
Wow.
You know, so we lost some. I don't know. We lost some creativity there, I guess. But yeah, it's just a different way of doing it.
How did it work out for them?
Well,
not too good.
You know, the bad thing is, you know, coming in on the very beginning, they didn't quite have the motor program as strong as they've got now, of course. And, you know, it was hard for, we found ourselves hard to qualify for races.
Right.
You know, just when you're off a certain amount, down low, when you got new tires and it needs to be pulling out of the corner, we didn't have that.
Right.
Well, we had no leeway because that's when, gosh, what was there, 18 like go or go homers, you know, at the time, and you know, we're all having to qualify in. It was really tough, and we missed several races. But then we make a race and we're sitting there leading it, you know, and the fuel pump, I mean, the power steering pump goes out or something stupid.
Right.
But the races we were in, it felt like we were very competitive. It was just getting qualified.
Right. It seemed like from an outside perspective, that Red Bull team was upper management was trying to run it like Red Bull did with their F1 teams, and NASCAR and F1 were just so different at that time.
Well, it was, and it was new. It was new to all them, even though, I mean, Elton Sawyer, John Pro, I mean, all of them were there. They're racers, they're drivers, they're engineers, Woods Ford, you know, they all been around. But when you take something and you make something that big with that many moving parts and pieces, and not only they're building sim programs, and you know, everything was in the building stage. I mean, they didn't cut any corners, that's for sure.
Hey, race fans, if you enjoyed that clip, check out the full episode on YouTube and all podcast platforms.